This part first, then inshallah.
He said, I would like to confirm that wherever Hazur goes to Europe, America, Africa, or anywhere in the world, we will fight on Hazur's side, left side, right side, in front of him and behind him, just to prove that we have got a common point here, is to spread the real Islam all over the world.
This incidentally reminds me of Ansaris who expressed their similar views before Badr. And I hope you're as true as they were.
من الفساد.
I'll explain that inshallah after the translation.
Hazur, the first verse which he read, he said, to whom is it addressed? And about the other one, he wants to know about this al-akhirah. Is it what is?
Read both verses from the Quran and translate them into English. In the Satum, that verse we read first. Reference is there. Listen to the reference over there. Surah Bani Israel.
Yes, sir.
First is in the beginning and the second is at the end.
Yes.
Got it? لتفسدن في الأرض مرتين تعالوا
فإذا جاء وعد الأولاهما وعفنا عنهم وباد لنا أولي بأس شديد فجاسوا خلال الديار وكان وعدا مفعولا فإذا جاء وعد الآخرة أتينا بكم.
We'll read it. Got it?
Not yet.
Huh?
Yeah. The first one is in.
He has got the reference, no?
Yes. Yes, I got it. Yes, I got it. I got it.
अब देख रहे हैं?
जी हाँ जी. In asantum le asantum. The first one, yes.
In the beginning, मैंने कहा, right in the beginning, yes.
This is verse number 8 of Surah Al-Isra Bani Israel.
That's right.
And it says, Auzu billahi minash shaitanir rajim, bismillahir rahmanir rahim. In ahsantum ahsantum li anfusikum wa in asatum falaha.
इससे पहली verse पढ़ें.
فَإِذَا جَاءَ وَعْدُ أُولَاهُمَا بَعَثْنَا عَلَيْكُمْ عِبَادًا لَنَا أُولِي بَأْسٍ شَدِيدٍ فَجَاسُوا خِلَالَ الدِّيَارِ وَكَانَ وَعْدًا مَفْعُولًا ثُمَّ رَدَدْنَا لَكُمُ الْكَرَّةَ عَلَيْهِمْ وَأَمْدَدْنَاكُمْ بِأَمْوَالٍ وَبَنِينَ وَجَعَلْنَاكُمْ أَكْثَرَ نَفِيرًا إِنْ أَحْسَنْتُمْ أَحْسَنْتُمْ لِأَنفُسِكُمْ وَإِنْ أَسَأْتُمْ فَلَهَا فَإِذَا جَاءَ وَعْدُ الْآخِرَةِ لِيُسُوءَ وُجُوهَكُمْ وَلِيَدْخُلُوا الْمَسْجِدَ كَمَا دَخَلُوهُ أَوَّلَ مَرَّةٍ وَلِيُتَبِّرُوا مَا عَلَوْا تَتْبِيرًا.
That's right. Read the translation through.
So when the time for the first of the two warnings came, we sent against you some servants of our.
Against you से पहले कौन मुखातिब है?
Qazana ila Bani Israel.
Why don't you read that? No.
Yes. And we revealed to the children of Israel in the book, saying, you will surely do mischief.
It is from here that the whole story begins.
And we revealed to the children of Israel in the book, saying, you will surely do mischief in the land twice, and you will surely become excessively overbearing. So when the time for the first of the two warnings came, we sent against you some servants of ours possessed of great might in war, and they penetrated.
Servants of ours?
Yes, ours. Yes. Ibadan lana.
Ibadul Lana can be translated in a good sense and in a bad sense as well. Peoples, humans, are creatures.
Yes.
So in this place, it is our creatures.
Our creatures, yes.
Yes.
And they penetrated the innermost parts of your houses, and it was a warning that was bound to be carried out. Then we gave you back the power again against them, and aided you with wealth and children, and made you larger in numbers. Now if you do well, you will do well for your own souls. And if you do evil, it will only go against them. So when the time for the latter warning came, we raised a people against you to cover your faces with grief, and to enter the mosque as they entered in it the first time, and to destroy all that they conquered with utter destruction.
That's right. Now this, when you read from Qadana, the whole picture emerges clearly. The fact is, if you read the history of Israel, you will find that many, many years before Jesus Christ, about 600 years of that, Allah sent Nebuchadnezzar to destroy Bani Israel for the follies they had committed. Now, they were not servants of Allah in the sense that they were God-loving people and, obedient to God. Allah so decreed that these human creatures should attack Israel, and in the latter part of the same verses, the Holy Quran is very clear, then we helped you against them and against their domination, which shows that Allah did not love them, but only assigned them a special task. First of all, this is. So Allah helped them to overthrow their oppressors. Who was it who helped them at the bidding of Allah? Do you know that? It was Cyrus. Cyrus, Horus, yes, that's right. Yeah. This monarch of Persia. It was he who was really beloved by Allah, and he was his true servant. So Allah sent him to help the Israel and to overthrow the yoke of the previous oppressors. And then read the Khilal al-Diyar and these.
فَإِذَا جَاءَ وَعْدُ أُولَاهُمَا بَعَثْنَا عَلَيْكُمْ عِبَادًا لَنَا أُولِي بَأْسٍ شَدِيدٍ فَجَاسُوا خِلَالَ الدِّيَارِ وَكَانَ وَعْدًا مَفْعُولًا.
That's the first one. Yes, second.
ثُمَّ رَدَدْنَا لَكُمُ الْكَرَّةَ عَلَيْهِمْ.
This is the part which is played.
ثُمَّ رَدَدْنَا لَكُمُ الْكَرَّةَ عَلَيْهِمْ وَأَمْدَدْنَاكُمْ بِأَمْوَالٍ وَبَنِينَ وَجَعَلْنَاكُمْ أَكْثَرَ نَفِيرًا. وَإِنْ أَحْسَنْتُمْ أَحْسَنْتُمْ لِأَنفُسِكُمْ وَإِنْ أَسَأْتُمْ فَلَهَا فَإِذَا جَاءَ وَعْدُ الْآخِرَةِ لِيُسُوءَ وُجُوهَكُمْ وَلِيَدْخُلُوا الْمَسْجِدَ كَمَا دَخَلُوهُ أَوَّلَ مَرَّةٍ وَلِيُتَبِّرُوا مَا عَلَوْا تَتْبِيرًا.
Read the translation of this.
So when the time for the first of the two warnings came, we sent against you some servant,
that is finished.
people.
That is finished.
Yes.
Second part.
Then we gave you back the power against them.
That's right.
And aided you with wealth and children, and made you larger in numbers.
That's right.
Now if you do well, you will do well for your own souls.
For your own sake.
And if you do evil, it will only go against them. So when the time against them.
This is the point which I wanted to clarify. Please read the Arabic.
وَإِنْ أَسَأْتُمْ فَلَهَا. And if you do
علیہا ہوگا
فَلَهَا. إِنْ أَحْسَنْتُمْ أَحْسَنْتُمْ لِأَنفُسِكُمْ وَإِنْ أَسَأْتُمْ فَلَهَا.
أنفسكم.
It should be علیہا.
لها لأنفسكم.
Why is it laha? That is the point. Sayyah is always mentioned in the Holy Quran with sila ala. Why is it laha? That is the point which I wanted to raise and invite your attention and invite suggestions, please. Mostly Arabs read the Quran, of course, understand, but do not stop at the such points who are very minute. And the change is effected by God in Arabic expression, where you must notice. You must know why laha. It should be alaha normally.
Yes.
Please, yes, I wanted your suggestion.
إن أحسنتم أحسنتم لأنفسكم.
That's right.
وإن أسأتم أسأتم لأنفسكم. هذا ما أفهمه.
That's right. The difference is that asatum alaha is not used.
It's not used.
لأنفسكم has two important meanings. Why lay? Number one, people do themselves bad, considering it to be good for them. So if you do bad while you think it is lay anfusikum, while you believe it is for the favor of your anfus, this will not be so. So the result would follow, result of this would follow later on. Punishment from God is not mentioned here. The anfusikum means you stupidly believe certain things will benefit yourselves. So even when you do sayyah, you do it for the same reason. The word sila Allah is used when Allah begins to show them the consequences of this, not before. You see, this minute deviations of the Holy Quran always carries some very important messages. So Israel was to follow evil course while considering that evil course to be good for themselves. While in the sight of Allah it was not to be good. Please.
شيء واحد.
Yes, please.
الحسن هم يفعلون الحسنة ظانين بأنها ستكون نتيجة حسنة لهم لأنفسهم وقد تكون يكون هذا
They do sayyah as though they were doing hasana. You see?
يقول حضرته أنهم يفعلون السيئة ويظنون وكأنهم يقومون بالحسنات.
That's right. And as far as the consequences of that so-called hasana, sayyah is concerned, or if they consider hasana, that would follow later on. Allah will speak of those consequences.
وبالنسبة لمضار هذه السيئات التي يظنون أنها فعلا حسنات، مضار هذه سيذكرها الله سبحانه وتعالى فيما بعد.
وليس مباشرة. فيما بعد.
Yes.
هنا في الآيات.
بس.
إن أحسنتم أحسنتم لأنفسكم وإن أسأتم فلها فإذا جاء وعد الآخرة ليسوء وجوهكم وليدخلوا المسجد.
وجوهكم. This is the consequence of this act. It's in the end of the surah. The Holy Quran mentions this.
Yes, it's another verse.
नहीं वही पढ़ रहे हैं उसे वही रिपीट कर रहे हैं.
This is the first part.
First part finish हो गया.
अच्छा.
Now come to the later part.
There it says وَقُلْنَا مِنْ بَعْدِهِ لِبَنِي إِسْرَائِيلَ اسْكُنُوا الْأَرْضَ فَإِذَا جَاءَ وَعْدُ الْآخِرَةِ جِئْنَا بِكُمْ لَفِيفًا.
جِئْنَا بِكُمْ لَفِيفًا. لِيَسُوءَ وُجُوهَكُمْ. वही दोबारा पढ़ें फिर. I am going to connect it.
Yes. فَإِذَا جَاءَ وَعْدُ الْآخِرَةِ لِيَسُوءَ وُجُوهَكُمْ وَلِيَدْخُلُوا الْمَسْجِدَ كَمَا دَخَلُوهُ أَوَّلَ مَرَّةٍ.
لِيَسُوءَ وُجُوهَكُم is the point which I was searching for, in fact. Apparently, the promise of Allah should be in their favor. But this promise will be fulfilled to show them that the evil consequences of their acts is going to strike against them. In the second wa'da, This is what Allah has determined. Read again and then you'll understand what I said. You help them understand it, and then we read the Quran again, please. Now, liyasu'a wujuhakum is an expression which does not require any sila, either le or Allah. It's self-apparent. So this is the beauty of the Quran. The consequence is shown in a language which does not stand in need of any sila. Yasu'a wujuhakum is directly the worst consequences of what you do would appear on your faces. Their faces will be frustrated and destroyed. And wujuhakum also means the prominent people among you, the great people who always mislead the people under them. Now, the last bit, Jena bekum lafifa, refers to this. When we are going to fulfill this promise in the end, then to prepare the ground for this promise, we will bring you from all over the world. And then your destruction will be total and complete. Here, as far as the wujuha are concerned, it may also have a connotation that you have been presenting a face to the whole world, a face of domination of the world. So liyasu'a wujuhakum means that apparent show of the domination of the world, that will be completely destroyed by Allah. From this you should all understand that they're coming from all over the world, and settling in Palestine was something nobody could avoid. Hadith Muslim tried his best to make Arabs see the light of the day. I have been trying my best right from the beginning to make Arabs understand these things are against their interest. Nothing happened, because as though we were striking our head against the decree of God. And this is the decree of God. It had to be fulfilled with the ultimate purpose of showing a sign in favor of Islam. How will that happen? I'm going to explain. Now, if you remember the verse, which in fact is a promise to Muhammad, that Allah had so decreed that al-ard will be inherited by Ibadiyya Salihun.
ولقد كتبنا في الزبور من بعد الذكر.
That's right.
وعبادي الصالحون.
Do you remember the reference? No, we've got it.
It is verse number 106 in Surah.
You see how these things are connected in the end. It's amazing. This is an ijaz of the Quran. Please.
أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم وَلَقَدْ كَتَبْنَا فِي الزَّبُورِ مِنْ بَعْدِ الذِّكْرِ أَنَّ الْأَرْضَ يَرِثُهَا عِبَادِيَ الصَّالِحُونَ إِنَّ فِي هَذَا لَبَلَاغًا لِقَوْمٍ عَابِدِينَ.
Amazing deviation is that previous Wada and Inzar all are mentioned with reference to Zabur. Here there is a deviation. It is mentioned not with reference to Zabur, with Torah, but it is mentioned with reference to Zabur. And Zabur are the songs of David. And they are trying to rehabilitate the government of David. But what David said was different. What David had promised them was that God has promised not that Israelis will conquer the earth, Allah, God has only promised that my true loyal servants will inherit the world. This is the promise he refers to Hazrat Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Because in this age, only Ibadiyya Salihun could be mentioned with reference to Hazrat sallallahu alaihi wasallam. The servants of David are no longer Ibadiyya Salihun. You understand? So the promise has to be vouched to Hazrat sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Now you have missed the central point. It is very important to remember. The Jews claim that they are going to rehabilitate the monarchy of David. And because we follow David, so the monarchy will be transferred to us. So it is a promise according to them, vouched to them by Hazrat Daud alayhi salam himself. But don't worry, because God has promised me that my sovereignty will cover the whole world, so you will inherit it. You are my people. This is a mistake, your misunderstanding they have about themselves. This has to be cleared. So whenever they refer to the government of Israel, they always refer to the government of David. But they have missed the point that David never said. Nowhere in Zabur it is said that my followers will inherit this. He says, Allah has promised me that Ibadiyya Salihun will inherit it. So then the transfer of this automatically is to Hazrat sallallahu alaihi wasallam. So you have only to wait. Unless the Arabs become Ibadahu Salihun, they will never get their land back. Do whatever they may. And that also gives us another message to Ahmadis. If we are true servants of Hazrat Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam and true servants of God, then we must spread there. And if we spread in that land, we will not have to fight. It is bound that Allah gives the keys of Jerusalem to you, being the Ibadullah Salihin. Now you ask the question, you think all the important points are covered? Ask him. It took me longer because there are points which, unless I had explained them in detail, you could not understand. And if you could, the rest of the world could not understand, so I had to explain. Now, it is just time for us for the photograph. And the young boys and others who, if they wanted to ask any question, I would love them to submit them to Ode in writing. And this will give us some material for many classes to come. So if they have pictures as well, we can show the enlargement of their pictures and read their question at the same time. Right? You can read. Inshallah. And picture.
والآن حان الوقت لأخذ الصورة الجماعية مع حضرة أمير المؤمنين.
And those who want to have a question, they should stand separately for a picture of theirs. There.
Okay. أي شخص يريد أن يسأل أن يترك سؤال مع الأخ من العودة يجب عليه أن يقف جانبا أيضا كي تأخذ صورته كي نعرضها لما نطرح سؤاله إن شاء الله.
You manage it. If you don't have time enough before prayer, then Mubarak Nasir, Bashir Nasir will help you. After the prayer, you can take individual pictures for this purpose. Right?
Let's go now.